You know, occasionally an article will come out from one of these game sites that kind of gets an audience of a certain system a little crazy, whether it's the PlayStation, the Xbox, or in this case, the Nintendo Switch. And of course, I'm talking about an article that has been sent to me a ton. Like, seriously, I get it sent to me all the time on Twitter. And that is an interview between IGN's Andrew Goldfarb and, of course, Mr. Tabata himself from Final Fantasy. And he asked him a few things, specifically about the Pocket Edition and the Nintendo Switch. And I saw a lot of people, like I said, kind of lose their minds over this a little bit, thinking that, well, that means that the Pocket Edition is definitely going to the Switch. In fact, IGN themselves pretty much phrase it as, there's a chance that the Pocket Edition is going to go to the Switch. And that's fine, because technically he does say that, but he seems extremely uninterested in it. And he also reveals the fact that the game has no controller support, which is kind of the whole purpose of taking it to a home console or even a handheld with controllers, is that it would use controllers as an added benefit. I mean, this is the excerpt here from IGN's interview. There's certainly a chance, it's certainly not zero. Obviously, we'd have to think about what the meaning and what the significance of bringing this to Switch would be. You know, whether people would want to play it and whether it would be the right thing to do for our team. And then later on in the interview, he goes on to say, well, it doesn't even have controller support. So, according to IGN, instead of add controller support in, they would opt to just make it portable only. Now, we've had some games, obviously, on the Switch that are only portable, and those are games that, well, it'd be very difficult, something like Severed, for example, very difficult to add motion controls or even gyro controllers and really still be playable to the extent they'd want it to be. And looking at what they want this game to be, the Pocket Edition, they definitely seem like they want it to be on cell phones and tablets that don't have buttons otherwise. I mean, it almost seems like they don't even really think about it being hooked up to TV ever at this point, because you would have your overlay in front of you when you're playing, because obviously you look on the screenshots, you see basically spots to the right that you would touch to have actions happen on screen. I assume mostly during battle, for example. And it's interesting that IGN would kind of make reference to this being a big thing around Final Fantasy 15 being a Pocket Edition going to the Switch, when really I looked at this and I said, well, that means more so that it's probably not going to the Switch. Now again, I will say there is definitely a chance, obviously, that the Pocket Edition could go to the Switch. There's a chance that the regular edition goes to the Switch. That's the thing. They didn't say that. They say the chance that the Pocket Edition goes to the Switch. So here's the deal. No controller support for this Pocket Edition, despite them having developers kits for the Switch for a while now. I mean, I Am Setsuna was ready to go at launch of the Switch, right? So obviously they've had developers kits for a while, probably predating development of this game. So if they had developers kit for the Switch and they were considering it, they would have added controller support, at least as an option down the road or an option now. When I heard that there was no controller support, to me, that pretty much set off alarm bells that, well, this game probably isn't going to go to the Switch, and they probably don't even have it in mind for the Switch. He even says they'd have to figure out the significance of why they would even bring it over, which tells me they don't really even want to bring it over because they don't think there's an audience there for it. And I can't really blame them, because as much as people will say, well, Square Enix is a lazier developer or something, I don't think so. I actually think Square Enix is a good developer, and when they really put time into a game, it comes out and I think is good. I think Final Fantasy 15 is a good game, but let me share with you an unpopular opinion that I have around Final Fantasy 15 going to the Switch. I don't want Final Fantasy 15 vanilla going to the Switch. I don't. I've played it. I've beaten it recently, actually, because I kind of stopped halfway through and then I had to play more through it to finish it. But I don't really want that same game, because it wouldn't do much for the Switch's features that make it unique from the Xbox One, the PS4, and even in this case, the PC. See, I would prefer a game that takes advantage of what makes the Switch different, which is the co-op mechanic. I would prefer for them to do something like a spin-off. Like, think back how we were playing older Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy X, for example. And then Crystal Chronicles comes out, right? And it's on the GameCube, and it has multiplayer functionality, and it's different from the others. A lot of people actually liked that game because it took chances, because it was different from other games. And the Switch is doing its best to be different from the PS4 and the Xbox One, and I think it's working. I think the portable factor of a home console, as they say, is a big drawing factor for a lot of people. So why would they want the exact same game from the PS4 and the Xbox One that's been out for a while and brought over? Right, I get it. It's portable and that's great. But why wouldn't you want something that takes advantage of the split Joy-Cons, takes advantage of the fact that you can be out and be sociable with it? Yeah, people bring like Switches to social gatherings, to bars, to all kinds of places. It's not just in those commercials. You can see it all the time on Reddit or on Facebook or Twitter, people take that Switch to different places where there are gatherings and people end up playing things like Mario Kart, stuff like that. I think it would be in their best interest to do a spin-off of the Final Fantasy 15 game, something that still takes place in that universe, and really make a unique story out of it and bring it to the Switch with some kind of multiplayer aspect, whether it's a multiplayer mode and then there's a single player mode, or do something like Crystal Chronicles where you can have a bunch of people playing towards a common objective in the story mode. So looking at it, I think this article more cements the fact that the Pocket Edition probably isn't coming to the Switch. I see so many people in the comments of this article, of like forums everywhere, that are now freaking out, believing that yes, the Pocket Edition is absolutely coming over. When again, this seems to be more along the lines of they're not even sure why they would bring it over at this point. It wouldn't make sense to them. They probably wouldn't even be able to get, what do you think they'd be able to get for the Pocket Edition on the Switch? 15, 20 bucks? It doesn't seem to make sense to them to put the time and effort into porting it, adding controls, because, well, they'd probably want it to be on the TV and docked mode as well, rather than just develop and put out a game that they probably can get 60 bucks for, add DLC to, and get more of a return on investment down the road. How would they even deal with episodic content on the Switch? They'd probably have to wait. I don't know if it's going to be scheduled. They'd probably have to wait for everything to come out at once down the road, so when they get to that 10th episode, and then start the porting process, or at least ahead of time, start the porting process, and then put it out when everyone on the cell phones and tablets have already been playing it this whole time. So to them, I don't think it makes sense. I would rather see than Final Fantasy 15, like I said, a spin-off that takes advantage of the Switch functions. I think it'd be much better. So right now, don't worry about a lot of these articles that seem to be pushing the fact that the Pocket Edition is coming to the Switch. We don't know. It could be yes, but it seems more along the lines that they're talking about something else when they're talking about Switch development. Something that probably won't be out for a while. We probably won't see it until, if this is actually happening where they're doing some other game, we probably won't see it until like 2019, to be honest. These games take time, so I don't think they're anywhere near it being ready, but it's very interesting. Let me know what you guys think, though. Do you think this article cements the fact that the Pocket Edition is coming over, or are you more on my side where I looked at this, no controller support? Well, that's odd. It's probably not coming to the Switch then. Would you rather a spin-off, or do you just want plain vanilla Final Fantasy 15 to come over? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.